Hello, WEN members. Joe DeChara here, coming to you live for the second time in 23 minutes. Yeah, what an experience. So, if you were watching or trying to watch a few seconds ago, uh, Jenny Wright, my friend, my savior tonight, messaged me and told me that the screen was black. And, I just spent 20 minutes giving like the greatest presentation ever. And so now it's history. So I'm going to have to redo it for you. So I'll just consider that a practice run. So what I started out saying, what's funny is that I was so excited because I was starting this. Yeah, thank you, Jenny. She can see me now. I started using this new technology called StreamYard. And obviously, I need more practice in it because you saw it. If you saw what it was, Jenny saw what it was. I hope she was the only one. But anyway, the technology, once I get it, yeah, thanks, Jenny. It can stream in 5 different places at once. And I guess I was so excited I forgot to actually add my video to the stream, and I sounded great. I mean, it was a great presentation. So unfortunately I was the only one that watched it. But what I want to do tonight is, first of all, I'm so glad that Jenny is listening because I actually wrote out a little outline here, Jenny, and I'm going to try to stick with it. And so, what I want to talk about is, and I'm going to keep talking about this, the concept of an indestructible business. Because I don't know, it just came to me the other night about how some businesses can just stand the test of time. And they knew how to pivot before pivot was even a word. Now pivot, it seems like, is the new word for what I call tenacity. Tenacity is when, yes, I did an outline, Jenny. I told you I'm learning. But anyway, tenacity is those inevitable roadblocks, those obstacles that small businesses face. And we're facing a huge obstacle now, an obstacle that is different than anything before. They're all really different. They're all different. I mean, on Long Island a couple of years ago, we had Sandy. That was more geographic. And before that, we had 9/11, which affected whole industries, the travel industry, the vacation industry. Uh, we've had wars, we've had depressions. This isn't new. Having obstacles is not new. The only thing that's different now is that, well, this is something, it's just totally different. And everyone, if it was a war, if it was the Spanish flu was 100 years ago. If you're watching anything about this, there was a Spanish flu where, like, I don't know, 30 or 40 million people died. There's always something. And forget about the worldwide or the statewide or the, geographic obstacles. What about the simple obstacles that we all face anyway when you start a business? You know, one of the things that is guaranteed, forget about death and taxes. Okay, they say death and taxes are the only guarantees in life. Well, not if you're my client, okay? Because if you're my client, and I don't want to go into all kinds of details, but I'm pretty good. So taxes aren't always a definite. Obstacles when you start a business are definite. They are going to happen, whether you like it or not. So the question is not when, I mean, not if, but when. And the answer is, what are you going to do about it? What is your solution going to be? And, my story is, I'm an entrepreneur. I became a CPA because I wanted to learn about business. I honestly did not know that meant I was going to be an accountant. I knew I was going to get accounting experience, but I wanted that so I could learn how to really run a business the right way. Lo and behold, 40 years later, I'm still an accountant. And, or is it 35 years later? Well, whatever, it's a long time. Uh, so, hey, Jenny, I'm still on the outline. So this is good. Anyway, I became an accountant because I wanted to learn about business. And so long story short, I wound up staying an accountant. And for 25 years, I felt like a fish out of water. Yeah, I did entrepreneurial things. I opened my own office, but it really wasn't what I expected. Because yeah, business was a lot harder than I thought. Too hard, way too complicated. And what I did was I spent 25 years fixing my clients' problems. And that's what I was. I was a problem solver. And it was very frustrating for me because I didn't get into this to solve problems. I got into business to make money. And yeah, I made money. I was successful. But what bothered me was the fact that my clients had all kinds of problems, for the most part. And what I realized was, people don't change accountants unless there's a problem with the old accountant. I think I got one client when their accountant passed away. All the other clients that I got, even the referrals, was because somebody else didn't know how to do their job. So I became the problem solver. Okay. I started, trying to get like brand new businesses, but that was tough too because brand new businesses don't have money. I came to learn. I said, most people don't start out a business with a bankroll. And so what I became was a problem solver surrounded by people with problems. And it was frustrating because all I wanted to do, besides me being successful, was to help my clients become successful. And it was heartbreaking because a lot of those clients that stuck with me became friends. And, one of my first clients, Tony had a little construction company. And Tony became a friend. And I saw Tony work his tail off for a long time. And it was at about that 23-year mark when Tony got cancer in his leg and he couldn't run his construction business anymore. Now, Tony worked hard. He ran a good business, but he wasn't rich. He didn't make millions of dollars. He had a good life. He had a family. But when he had to close his doors, he walked away from the business with nothing. He didn't get a penny for that business. And that's not what I thought business was about. I thought you go into business, you make a lot of money, and then you sell it, or your kids take it over. I didn't expect people to go into business and suffer and struggle the way that they did. And that was heartbreaking. And I watched Tony A couple of years later, passed away. And, it still hurts me to think that, all those years I was trying to figure out a way to help him. I came up with ideas. You should buy dilapidated houses and fix them. And it just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't in the cards. But Tony wasn't the exception. That was the norm. And well, Tony was the exception because he actually stayed in business and he made money. I mean, he was mildly successful. Yeah, he saved up some money, but he wasn't rich like I expected. And I didn't expect people to just close their doors and walk away with nothing. And he passed away collecting Social Security. Thank God that he had saved enough money to still live, fairly well. But he wasn't living the high life. And the norm, unfortunately, were a lot of people that went into business that came to me, and they came to me with problems, eventually wound up going out of business. Sometimes they'd start a new business, and I still have some of those clients. That's what they have tenacity. You call it pivoting now. I called it tenacity. And tenacity is overcoming all of those obstacles. And what happened to me about 10 years ago was I came across two publications that I read, and they turned my whole concept about what it was about business that made people successful. It was The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and that book was published in 1907, and it was the what spurred the movie The Secret. Okay. And the other publication was The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, who then later went on to take the same information and publish Think and Grow Rich. And if you haven't read that and you're in business, shame on you. Shame on you. Because if you want to really learn how to become successful, everything you need to know about becoming successful is in that publication, Think and Grow Rich. Now, I started with those two other ones, and I've studied Think and Grow Rich, but it was just the same information that I learned from the Law of Success. And what I learned is that what you focus on is what you become. What you focus on is what you realize, what manifests. And so people go into business and all of a sudden they have all these problems and they're focusing on the problem, focusing on the problem. Well, guess what? What I learned was that you keep focusing on the problem, you'll solve the problem, but then there's going to be another problem that comes up. And what those two publications taught me was you need to focus on the solution. Focus on success. What is it going to take me to be successful? Not what is it going to take me to get over this IRS audit? Or what is it going to take me to pay this tax bill? I tell clients, I hope that you have tax problems. I hope your tax bill is so freaking high, you need to hire a tax attorney. Why? Because if you got to pay a lot of taxes, that must mean you made a lot of money. That's a problem everybody should have. So what I realized was they didn't teach me that in CPA school. And that was the problem. Another book that came out recently, fairly recently, that is a highly recommended book is called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, he explains why they didn't teach me this stuff in CPA school or high school. What they taught me was how to compile financial statements and how to measure how much money they had and how to measure if their business was doing good or not. But they didn't teach me how to help my clients become successful. I had to learn from somewhere else. After 25 plus years of struggles, not only my own, but seeing my clients struggle and feeling helpless because those clients that became friends that I couldn't help, all of a sudden I had a whole new outlook. And it was, let's focus on being successful. Yeah, these aren't problems. They're situations that we will overcome. I will find a solution. But what you need to do, Mr. Client, is figure out how you're going to run your business better and more successful. Instead of worrying about the bookkeeping and accounting and tax stuff, let me worry about that. And you worry about building buildings or driving your trucks better or doing carpentry better or whatever you do that better. Focus on doing that better. And if you do that, you'll be rich. And by rich, I don't mean materially. And actually, I do mean materially, but not only materially. What I mean is that if you focus on what I believe you were put on this earth for, because I believe we're all put here for something. We're not here by accident. And 10 years ago, I realized that my father did not trick me into being the CPA. He did me a favor because this is what I was supposed to be. Because had I not gone through all those trials and tribulations over 25 years, all that pain and suffering that I thought that I went through, that was required experience. So that when I had that moment 10 years ago in my office on April 7, 2010, after it hit me like a bolt of lightning, just like Napoleon Hill said it would, and I said, I'm going to teach these principles. This is going to be my business from now on. I don't want to be an accountant. Seriously. I tried to get out of accounting for years. I was trying to do something else. I wanted to help people become successful. And a couple of things occurred to me at that time, because right now it's just an idea. I hadn't taken action. I needed to take action. So I started taking action. I created the entrepreneur success system. I got a logo. I got a new website. I spent money. I hired coaches. I started masterminds. And I got limited results. Because after a lot of trial and error, I realized that I was trying to teach something that I had not really practiced. I didn't practice the law of success or the science of getting rich. I knew it. I understood it because I read it in a book. But it would have been like trying to perform brain surgery right out of medical school. And I hope that they don't do that. So I went on a long journey of trying to apply these principles to my business and my life so that not only would I get the money that I expected when I decided to be an entrepreneur when I was 10 years old, not only would I get the money, but I would have an unbelievable life. Because what what Wallace Wattles told me in The Science of Getting Rich, that as long as I do more than what I'm paid for in dollars, in other words, if I give more effort and not expect that much in return, as long as I go the extra mile, as Napoleon Hill said, and do what I love doing, not only would I get money, I would be able to travel and go wherever I want and help people with money and knowledge. And then about 2 years ago, I realized that I really didn't hate being an accountant. I actually loved it. And it was my thinking that made me want to not be an accountant. Because to be honest with you, I didn't see how an accountant could help people really become successful. How could a guy that does tax returns and bank recs help somebody become successful? Until I realized that all that experience that I had, all those trials and tribulations, all the things I saw my clients going through, there is not one situation that occurs in a small business that I have not seen 1,000 times already. And that's when I realized that all of that time and effort was not wasted. That was the investment that I had to put into this. And the issue of small businesses failing became my number one priority because I said, now that I have the knowledge and the experience, I'm going to single-handedly turn this around. Because little by little, the facts started coming to me. And they came to me when I needed them. And that's what Napoleon Hill said too. He said, once you put down your definite chief aim, the universe will conspire to make it happen. I don't have to worry about the details. See, that's one of the things businesses do. They worry about the details. So if you're building houses, you got to focus on building the best freaking house that you can build without worrying about the profits. If that's coming from an accountant, yeah, you got to make profits. That's the bottom line. If the results of your activities do not show profits, then you have a hobby or a big headache. But if you take each individual job and you put your God-given talent and all your experience in building a structure that's better than anybody's ever lived in, eventually you're going to start showing profits. You still need a good accountant. You still need a good accountant. But what those publications taught me was that I was focusing on the wrong end of the business. I was just looking at the numbers, and the numbers are only a result of what you did before. And what you did before actually starts with your thinking, your mindset. And that thinking is based on your beliefs. And your beliefs start when you're like, you don't even know. Your beliefs start when you're being raised by the family that you didn't even have a choice of. We don't get to choose our family. We don't get to choose our teachers, not in the beginning. They didn't teach me this in CPA school. They didn't teach me this when I went to work for CPA firms. And I thought I was learning about how to make businesses successful. And then about two years ago, I came across a statistic that I know but never really paid attention to. And the statistic was this: there are over 30 million US based businesses. 25 million, more than 25 million, are what the SBA calls non-employer firms. Non-employer firms. Now, my assumption all those years, because I actually knew this going back 25 years ago, I didn't know the term non-employer firms, but what I knew was that what the SBA's definition of a small business was, and that threw me for a loop. Their definition was any company with less than 500 employees. And I said, you got to be kidding me, because in all my years in accounting, you don't see too many companies that big. I never, even the big accounting firms that I worked at, never had companies with 500 employees. I think maybe the biggest company might have had 150 or 200 employees, and that's a pretty damn big company. That's a pretty big company. And then when I looked at the statistics, only a very small percentage of companies even get to 10 employees. A very small percentage even get to 5 employees. So now I get this 25 million non-employer firms, and I decide to look up what do they mean by non-employer firms, because I always thought that that meant that they were corporations where they only employed the owner. Like me, I have an s-corp and I employ myself. No, a non-employer firm is a sole proprietor. And that floored me, because in all my years in accounting, if any sole proprietor came to me, I incorporated them. And it was the same thing with all the CPA firms. We didn't handle sole proprietors. We did if it was like, you know, our main client's kids, side gig, and we would do a little Schedule C, and that was it. But if somebody had a real business and they came in as a sole proprietor, we incorporated them. So the question that I ask myself is, why are so many people still sole proprietors? And it took me another year to figure it out. And I'll tell you why. Why are they still sole proprietors? Because before I get to the reason, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is that being a sole proprietor is the absolute worst way that anyone can do business. The worst way. Sole proprietors get audited more, a lot more, a lot more. And I'll tell you how much more. In 35 plus years in accounting, I have seen 3 s-corps audited. And you're talking about not only my own practice, my own hands-on experience working with thousands of small businesses. That's right. I have worked directly with thousands of small businesses. And those firms that I worked for, we're talking 30, 40,000 business returns. 3 s-corps were audited, and each one of them had huge red flags. The percentage of small business owners, sole proprietors that get audited, forget about the numbers that they throw at you, because they're wrong. They're padded. I've handled hundreds of tax audits. All of them, besides the sales tax and payroll tax audits, all of them besides the other 3 s-corps, all of them, hundreds, with sole proprietors. And they were sole proprietors that either did their own returns or they went to some idiot accountant that allowed them to be a sole proprietor. Because if you're a CPA and you're letting your clients stay sole proprietors, you need to go back to CPA school. Seriously. Seriously. Because no operating entity should be a sole proprietor. And if you're an LLC as an operating entity, you're still a sole proprietor. So LLC is not the answer. LLCs will limit your legal liability. That's what they're designed for. But they're not going to give you any tax benefits. LLCs were created for large investors in passive activities, not to run a candy store, not to run a construction company. Passive activities are coal mines, oil wells, real estate. Those are passive activities, and that's what LLCs were designed for. So if you have a social media expert and you're an LLC, you need to look at your tax return. Because not only are you audited more than anybody else, you have no legal protection unless you're an LLC, but you're paying Social Security tax on your net profit. You have no choice. If your net profit is 100 grand, you're paying $15,000 just in Social Security taxes. And sole proprietors get no respect. What do I mean by that? When you go into a bank for a line of credit or a loan, for a business loan, you're not going for a business loan. You're going for a personal loan because your business is tied to your personal tax return. And they're going to base your loan on your personal credit. So why are so many people still sole proprietors? Well, I got down to the bottom of it. Number one, when somebody starts a business, you're automatically classified as a sole proprietor. You don't have a choice. And there is nothing on the IRS website or the Small Business Administration website to tell you the things that I just told you. What they tell you is that a sole proprietor is the easiest way to do business. Well, yeah, it's also the way to do business that I don't get to choose. I'm automatically a sole proprietor. So if I want to start a landscaping business and I don't incorporate, and my lawnmower blade flies off and kills some guy's Rolls Royce, they're suing you personally, unless you're an LLC. But now, if you're an LLC, you've already given some thought to the fact that you shouldn't be a sole proprietor. So if you've gotten that far, maybe you went to a lawyer or an accountant, or you went to some stupid online company and they told you, oh yeah, we can set you up as an LLC. See, LLCs became cool because they were new and everybody wanted to be an LLC. And most lawyers are not versed in taxes. They're looking at the legal liability. So yeah, it makes sense to be an LLC if you're a lawyer. But for tax purposes, it makes no sense to be a sole proprietor. So here's the crux of the problem. Sole proprietors, for the most part, don't have any money. When somebody starts a new business, they're not flush with capital. If somebody has money because their family was in business or something, they can hire an accountant to tell them that they shouldn't be a sole proprietor. So they start out already behind the 8 ball. They start out with the odds against them. And what are the odds? Forget about what the SBA says. The SBA claims that 5 out of 10 businesses will be out of business within the first 5 years. Okay, if you do the math, if you try to put that on a spreadsheet, and I'll give you some quick numbers, there's 30 million businesses. A lot of them were created because of the internet, because now an Amazon affiliate is a business and an Uber driver is a business. They're sole proprietors. But so there's 30 million businesses, and 3 million businesses go under, die every year. And then a new 3 million come in. So if you do the numbers, if every year 3 million businesses start, okay, at the end of 5 years, we should have another 1.5 million businesses. Not 30 million, we should have 31.5. And then in the second year, there should be another 3 million. And the bottom line is we should be going up, but we're not. It's like this. And that's why I said over 98% of new businesses fail. And they're not the businesses that have been around a long time. Those businesses don't fail because they've already run the gauntlet. I'm going to finish up here in a minute. So why do all those other businesses stay as sole proprietors and fail? Well, number one, because they usually can't afford a $300, $350 an hour accountant to tell them they need to be incorporated. And number two, the system is so damn complicated that it is built for you to fail. It is built for you to fail. A guy that wants to open up a hot dog stand in Manhattan needs a CPA and a lawyer. You want to open up a landscaping business, you need workers' comp. You need, I mean, just to look at the sales tax laws, to register as a sales tax vendor is ridiculous. How is a normal person going to start a business and succeed with all of this stuff that nobody even knows how to handle unless you've handled it before? How? It is impossible. It is impossible for anyone. I don't care if you're a marketing consultant, a social media mogul. Okay? If you're running as a sole proprietor, you are spending more money on taxes than you're supposed to be. And thank God, if you're a social media person, you're probably not going to do anything to get sued, hopefully. Not like if you're in the construction business or the trucking business. So that's what we have. Over 25 million people are still doing business as a sole proprietor. And I understand why and how, and I came up with solutions. I understand that people are afraid to even talk to me about their taxes because they think they're going to get a bill. Okay? And the problem is that the people that I want to serve, the new small businesses, do not have the money to pay the kind of fees that I would normally need to make a good business, to have a good accounting practice. Okay? But I told you that I am a solution guy. I solve problems, and I wasn't going to let that little problem stop me. So what I did was I designed my business to service the smallest of small business owners at a very reasonable price that new business owners can afford and will give me enough of a profit to stay in business. And for those that are still behind the 8 ball, that still can't put enough food on the table to even think about paying, $100 a month for CPA services, I created Bedrock University so that people could at least find out what they're supposed to be doing and get the direction, the information, the step-by-step guide from people like Haley Gray, the person that started this group. That's right, Haley Gray. I met Haley because she was one of the people that I interviewed because she had a huge Facebook group. And I said, one of the things that people need to succeed, besides accounting, is they need to be able to market their services. And so Haley gave me all the information that she used to build her huge Facebook group. And if you go to bedrockuniversity.com and you register now, because it's only $97 for lifetime unlimited access, you will find out not only Haley's formula, but you're going to find out how to incorporate yourself because I put a course up there. You're going to find out how to get your own federal tax ID number because I put the course up there. And I got a bunch of other courses that are going up there. So I'll leave you with this, folks. My purpose in life is to help you succeed. Okay? If you need accounting services because every business needs them, I'm here. But if you just want to learn some of the stuff that I've learned, you can go to Bedrock University and find out. And I'll leave you with this. I want to plug my friends Jenny Wright and Haley Gray and Jason and Allison Lex, who are doing this amazing thing. I forgot the name of it. Jenny will post it here, right, Jenny, if you're still there. Yeah, Jenny's. Oh, thank you. Uh, so they are putting on an unbelievable event, which you could sign up in the WEN group, and that's my story. I'm sticking with it. My name is Joe DeChara. Visit bedrockuniversity.com. And if you want a free chat with me, you can go to timewithjoe.com and book a free 15-minute chat. I hope I gave you something to think about tonight. Over and out. Thank you.